typical, just breaking it down to make it simple. I was deep G Unit, and then he was GU Naughton in the
Politics.
same environment.
Yeah.
And although, you know, he was making records, dissing G Unit and showing me love within the same record,
Right.
it's like, that's like being just dissing East Coast.
What's up, world? It's your boy Big Court here on the Holding Court podcast. You know what it is, man. What's cracking with your producer, Ken?
Man, it's another one. Trying to get another one in the books.
Already, man. So, you know, we doing this thing, how we do it, man. We got a special guest in the building, in the house, man. We got LA's finest, West Coast finest, one of LA's premier content creators / rappers / gangsters / line pushers. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of slashes.
I humbly accept all those.
Yeah, / line pushers. You know what I mean? The homie Spider Loc, SPI. What's cracking
East
with
the
you?
Deal, Big Court. Ken, what's happening, my partner?
Man, chilling.
What's going on with you, brother?
I appreciate being here, man. You know, the doors was wide open. I just had to step through them.
Absolutely.
All about my Bay activity, being about my money at all costs, as usual.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, bro. You know, watching you over the years, you know, me, you, and T.I. have something in common. You know what I mean? Which is, you know, we're hybrids. You know, we some of these we niggas from the hood and street niggas that know how to articulate and elocute in a certain fashion.
Indeed.
Yeah, they just made a mashup of me and T.I. who was using the biggest word.
Hey, his words be so thesaurus
expeditiously.
He go about 5-6 syllables almost.
Yeah,
twice
real
a
shit,
sentence.
real shit. But I listen. I've seen your shit, and you know you up there with us. You know what I'm saying? We some hood Michael Eric Dyson ass niggas.
Blessing. It's a blessing to have that separation and that distinction amongst the wolves.
Yeah, real talk. Which
mama.
Which will lead me to, you know, as I was doing some research from you, dog. It's crazy because it's such a contrast from the image that people, well, not the image that people have of you, but actually who you are.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? You actually grew up going to private school and Seventh-day Adventist.
Indeed, I've never attended a public school a day in my life.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a single mother. I am her only child. And
just like me, I'm only child.
Same. So we got a lot in common.
Hell
You keep finding that out through the pre-conversation. So it was when I was about 8 or 9, she got heavily devoted into the church scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a decent job and a commitment to keep me in a school outside of the general schools that was available through the public school system. And just so happened when she did get baptized and get into the church, it was under the Seventh-day Adventist denomination umbrella. So that was the type of schools I went to. That's the way I was indoctrinated and raised. My whole understanding of religion, theology, and the Bible was from that spectrum, and it still is. I haven't really studied much outside of that other than vaguely here and there for comparison purposes. So irregardless of my spiritual experience through the years, even as a child, I've always had a mischievous side that I tapped into. So being it that I came up in such gang-infested areas, that mischievous side was attracted to the activities, and it kind of like won at a certain tender time in my adolescence,
for sure,
which caused me to have experiences that my mother didn't have in the plant book. But I'm fortunate, blessed to be here today. I have a lyric that says, through the years I've made so many shitty decisions, hard to believe I'm still sitting in such a pretty position. So I just express gratitude as often as possible. Matter of fact, it's one of my slogans. It's an acronym, JITA. Gratitude is the attitude. Matter of fact, I think it's on the shirt somewhere.
I see it. Yeah.
So that's where I try to stay right there. Keep it there.
Nice. So coming up in private school, I mean, do you think that like was because you still, I'm sure even growing up, because I know you grew up in South Central and you grew up in Compton. So even once you leave the private school and the church, you know what I'm saying, you still are exposed to the element. You still got to go to the neighborhood and be out there playing and doing what you got to do.
Outside of being bused back and forth to school in and out of Compton, I had an ironic experience. Like I said, my mother was a single mother. I'm her only child. However, my father's been in my life my whole life. And my mother had a house right down the street from Tragnell Park. Tragnell Park had public basketball courts available, but like the court was like gravel, and the rims never had nets. As soon as they get up, they get snatched down. The rims were bent. They was raggedy. And my father, trying to be a good absentee out the home father, do all he can for your son, he took it upon himself one year as a gift to put up a brand new snapback basketball court over our garage at my house. And it turned into, my mama, while she was trying to protect me from the elements in the environment, her process was, as we went in and out, we wouldn't go out the front door. She'd go through the garage, get in the car, raise it with the power thing. We drive out, we come home, the garage would come up, we go in, enter the house that way. And it started, once my daddy put that basketball court up, we'd be coming home, and all the neighborhood kids would be on my grass, on my yard, playing basketball. They used to scatter. And then a few would still linger, and she never would trip. So they start gathering back, and then, so I learned, I had all the kids, all the boys in the neighborhood used to come to my house to play basketball on this court that was better than the ones at the park. And these kids turned out to be the Tragnell Crips. So without me ever banging Tragnell, I have very tight childhood friendships and bonds and relationships with the majority of the ones from my generation. And then that just is kind of like part of the story of how my access to the streets took place at home. Outside of that, like I say, my father was in my life my whole life. And I have older brothers that occupied his home. I wasn't his only child.
Gotcha.
And there was no religious influence or restrictions in place over there. So,
and he was in South Central.
Yes, on the east side of South Central, borderline Watts. So,
but let me ask you a question real quick. So just for my edification, so Seventh-day Adventist, what is that? How's that different
Seventh-day
from?
Adventist in most cases is just like Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian. All of those denominations have distinctions. That's why they're different. However, they all fall under the umbrella of Protestant. And historically, Protestant religions came out of the Reformation age when Catholicism was being, I guess you would say, considered as restrictive and totalitarian over everybody. There was a whole group of religious people that didn't want to be under their reign anymore, and they became the Protestants at whole. And Protestant is like, the root word is protesting against the Roman Catholic Empire and its rule, Catholicism in general. So they branch out to a number of different religions who the vast majority go to church and worship on Sundays. That, everybody just say, if you say the Lord's Day, typically you say Sunday is the Lord's Day. However, the Seventh-day Adventists as a group believe that the Lord's Day is the seventh day of the week. In our society, the seventh day is Saturday. The first day is Sunday. So one of the main distinctions between Seventh-day Adventists and the average Protestant denomination is that they worship, honor, and keep Saturday, the Sabbath, holy versus Sunday, like the majority of Protestants.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, that's the main distinction.
So they go to church on Saturdays.
On Saturdays, yes.
Oh, okay.
And they do more than just go to church. They honor the Sabbath, which means Friday evening when the sun sets, you cease doing anything secular.
Okay.
That time from Friday evening sunset until the sun sets the next day on Saturday is supposed to be totally dedicated to spiritual connection, communion with God. No buying, no selling,
But they're Christians or
Christians indeed.
Okay.
Well, Christianity is the umbrella.
Okay. And then under Christianity, you have Catholicism and Protestants. Then it separates. Under the Protestants, there's a whole bunch of sects of Protestant Christians.
Got you. So that was enforced in your mother's household.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
To an extreme degree, some would say, like, even being involved in youth sports coming up, all the sports activities were church-based related.
Wow.
I never was a Boy Scout, but I had a time being a Pathfinder.
Yeah.
That's a similar organization that is affiliated with the church.
Yeah.
They go camping, but it's co-ed, however, boys and girls. And but my mother's effort to do what she thought was the best thing was to keep all my activities kind of tied into that environment.
Church,
But even in that environment, my church was in Compton.
Yeah.
So
Still got street poison.
Yeah, like some of my friends, and we could walk from church to their house, and some of them went to public school. And then also one thing my mother and her sister loved them dearly did, which probably was a disservice to their overall goal. They called themselves being like everyday Bible workers in the community, staying in touch and engaging with a number of families, bringing other ladies that had kids, boys around that was active. And while they having us co-mingle, thinking we're going to be having a Christian influence on them, a lot of times
they have an influence on you.
The exact opposite influence.
Exactly.
And I don't think they was like really aware of that or paying attention to that. A lot of times, me and my cousin, we would be at my aunt's house while they would be in there conducting a Bible study. And he and I were wannabe gang members at the time, to where we didn't really realize what neighborhoods we lived in. But we would get a hold to a can of spray paint and go outside and spray paint on the wall. Gangs, they don't even get along. And we didn't even know no better.
Wow.
And we'll see the next day, a certain gang would come cross it out, and we'd be like, oh shit, we fucked up with that one. They don't even like each other. Yeah, things of that nature.
Yeah. So I can probably ascertain at this point that you were probably a good student. You probably got good grades. Above average.
I was above average. I graduated high school with a 2.8 with giving very little to no effort.
Right.
So you can meter. You can I could have been a 4.0 or I could have done exceptionally well, but
same shit.
I never prioritized school, never gave the effort. And then when I stumbled up on average, and you look back and you're like, you could have.
Real shit. That's crazy, man. We got like parallel stories. That shit crazy as hell.
I'm noticing that, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I hate to be a Me Too ass nigga, but if you keep forcing it on me, I'm gonna keep it at Google and say Me Too. Yeah, for real.
That's crazy. But it's funny, man. I said that on No Jumper. You know, it's my experience was similar in the hood. Like I came from a good household where education was a focus point. You know what I mean? But again, the environment is hostile. So a lot of times, you know, we become, you know, you kind of stumble into becoming a recalcitrant, you know, teenager because you adapt. And sometimes you adapt out of fear. You know what I mean? Because some of my shit it was like, damn, I don't want to be victimized. You know, niggas getting jacked for their starter coats, they Jordans, and you know, so I'm like, hold up, that ain't gonna be me. So you tool up, you know what I'm saying, and you arm yourself, and you start, you don't want to be victimized, but then you find yourself perpetuating the same shit that you was afraid of. Cause now what you see is you do something, you win a couple fights, you take off on a couple niggas, shoot at a couple niggas, then you see the adoration that you get from your peers. And then that just feeds it. And before you know it, you become the nigga you was probably fearful of. Like, damn, I'm that nigga.
I had to say that I have a very similar experience. Exactly. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Shout out to my cousin Stacy, my cousin Clarence, who are like my big brothers / cousins. Our mothers or sisters raised us together. They both were single mothers. And we had a lot of our adolescent experiences together. And I can recall incidents being out in public, catching the bus in out of Compton where we get into confrontations. And I was young enough to where I froze up a couple of times. And I can remember mentally making up in my mind, like, nah, not no more.
Real shit.
And I used to like, these are my older cousins, slightly more aggressive than me when it came to conflict.
Right.
I remember purposing that I'm gonna be more aggressive than them. I'm gonna swing first. And once, and I remember getting addicted to how that kept you ahead of the curve.
Real
too.
shit. Cause I was just telling somebody this in the gym the other day. Cause he was telling me how, cause he grew up in LA, Grooves over on Hoover.
Right.
And so he was saying how he just said, fuck it, I'm gonna be square. I can't handle that shit. He said, when I knew certain niggas was staying in certain ways, I went around. I said, but I did different. When I identified or felt fear, I leaned into it because I didn't want that nigga to feel like I was tripping off of him. So even though I might have been scared inside, it made me, you know, shit, what's up?
See, this is you understanding like, okay, damn, Spider, you just like me as far as articulation, and you have this seemingly well-placed background that you're sharing with me. However, up until you taught me that, I thought of this Spider Loc shit. Okay, now I'm telling you the environment I was actually raised in. And then as I stepped into the opposite half of that environment, in order to ensure I never was perceived as someone coming from that opposite environment, I like overdid it.
Yeah,
I overdid it.
Yeah.
Not quite aware of the actual tempo or temperature.
Yeah.
I assumed it was a little bit more ahead of what it was. So when I went in to make sure I didn't slack. I overcompensated.
Yep.
And through the years, realizing that's
Yeah.
how I developed the
Yep.
concept. I mean,
Yeah.
the reputation,
Real
and
talk.
you know, it wasn't trying to show out. It was trying to make sure
Yep.
I wasn't lacking or slacking,
Yep.
and I just wasn't aware enough where I could have stopped a while
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
have to go
Yeah.
that hard.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes some
You
people
form
describe
habits
it.
though.
You
You
do.
keep doing the same. You know, it becomes habit. It's funny because me and my partner Walt, we was talking about that because we was saying how, even me coming from the hood where I'm from the 4 block 64130 in Kansas City, Missouri. But it was niggas that they parents were fortunate enough to be in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? But they was in our hood all the
Right.
time because they probably had family there.
So
Them
with,
niggas pushed the hardest line.
but with your character, which is 50-50 adaptable to both environments, do you think if you would have been secluded into the suburbs, you would have still found your way down to the bullshit, or you think you would have played to the upside of your character and went straight clean cut?
That's a good question, bro. That's a good question because I like to say I think I probably would have kept it like that, but I don't know. It's a little something in me that could be a cheerleader for foolishness.
But I believe there would have been enough foolishness for us in those other environments where we still could have went through that phase as the bad guy and come out more clean cut and be more at the forefront of.
I've wondered that before because I always excel academically. You know what I'm saying? And I always wondered if I was somewhere else,
and
what
really
choices I would have made. You know what I'm saying?
What was your sports situation in school?
Basketball. Well, basketball and BMX.
Oh, man, not the extra shit.
Yeah, nigga, the freestyle shit. I was on that shit.
Not flipping the shit.
What? Yeah, hell yeah, nigga.
Now always, how the fuck the first time? How do you get good at? Everything takes bumps and bruises. How do you get into some shit like that? And how do you go through the oopses and shit?
So I'm gonna tell you how. So with the BMX freestyle shit, right? It was a dude named Brian Jones. He used to come to my neighborhood. He was in the magazines and shit with Dennis McCoy. Dennis McCoy was a white boy from Kansas City, but he was like a professional. He was in all the magazines and shit, right? So I'm seeing Brian and also Brian Belcher. I'm seeing them in the magazines, and they used to come over on the block, right? And they used to make us lay down in the street and bunny hop overs and shit, do tricks, and we was wild by that shit.
Right.
So I'm like 10, 11 years old. So that shit just fascinated me. And so that's when I got into, my mother bought me a mongoose, nigga. I had a mongoose decade. So, I was a blessed child in the hood. You know what I mean? And I was the only child. But, yep, I wanted to, and even then I was thinking entrepreneurial, bro, because I was like, my goal was to goddamn get sponsored by Mongoose and then start designing my own bikes. Because I used to draw. I could draw really well. So I started drawing my own bikes and shit, saying, yeah, I'm gonna get my own frames and all of that. But then I was always good with like track and field and basketball. Okay. So then that kind of morphed into wanting to play basketball. But going to your point, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anyone to really map out what the possibilities were. Like, if you do this, you could get this. If you make this choice, you could do that.
Right.
My mother was very, my mother did excellent, but she's still a single mom. You know what I mean? It's only so much she can do.
Right.
So once I started getting street poison, like I say, probably about 14 is when I started hopping off the porch doing dumb shit. Then I went to jail at 15, for some serious shit. So then that's when it got real for me. It was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But when I look back on it, I'm like, damn, if I had, different influences, I could have, because I had so much potential. Now I realized that potential later in life, but in real time back then, you know what I'm saying? Like
I can relate. I understand.
Yeah.
I had positive influences, but it was all channeled into Jesus. My mother, that was her answer to every question, and being affiliated with the church circuit and my natural skill set of being able to speak,
right,
and not being afraid to publicly speak,
right.
Everybody preacher.
Oh damn!
I tried it. Even after full-fledged gangbang, going to prison, came home, got baptized, went to the hood, bringing niggas to the church. It just never stuck on me. Like,
damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you actually was wow.
I've gotten congregations and spoken, even in cities like Rolling Hills, where it's very well to do, and the only black people in the congregation were the people I invited, my family. And I've been the person to deliver the message at the 11 o'clock hour in those type of settings. However, it was all in the process of trying to change what I called my life into what I figured my calling was based on what everyone was telling me that was involved in my raising and rearing. But you know, no matter how hard I tried to thrust and throw myself, how deep I tried to throw myself into the realms of this, I get it. I'm connected with God. I'm on this mission of purity, and through the Bible reading, it was always based upon what I was taught and told.
Right. Wow.
It was never really based upon this is what my soul can grasp is what's going on.
Right.
And it took some maturity for me to realize that. And knowing that I'm not supposed to be out here being a savage, just doing anything, I still have yet to refine something systematic or structured to replace it with. So the only thing in that realm of conversation I try to keep my heart on is doing to others as you had them doing to you.
Right.
And I think that kind of covers the majority of it until you start figuring anything else out, because everything else is throwing darts and guessing.
Right. So how did you consolidate that? I mean, you got this duality that you kind of fighting with. You know what I'm saying? Like you got, like literally, you got an angel on his shoulder and the devil on his shoulder.
Indeed,
you know what I mean?
Indeed.
Like, so I mean, was it ever like once you get into the gang banging, which at what age did you start becoming? Because I know it's a difference between being affiliated and actually.
Yeah, I've been fucking around doing goofy shit. Want to be like, even before I was from my hood, my brothers that was from my hood before me, we didn't grow up on 97th Street. We grew up on 99th Street, and we used to be from some shit called 99 East Side Hustlers. I think that was like I was about 13 or 14. And then in the next, maybe even 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And my brother, he turned out to be Baby Ron Ron from 6-0. My neighbor, Donnie, rest in peace, he turned out to be Lil Bebe from my set. My brothers turned out to be from the set. We had a homie from 99 East Side Hustlers, turned out to be Wolf from Front Street. So, but as kids, just being around and gangs being a kind of new thing, it was different little versions of what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
And so eventually, like I say, me living in Compton and growing up, we banging 99 East Side Hustlers. Even I had a homie.
That's in Compton or in LA?
That's in LA.
Okay.
And eventually my brothers who lived on 99th in the hood, they went around the corner and turned 97 East Coast. It wasn't no more 99 East Side Hustlers. That shit's over with. Everything in that area is the set.
Right.
So eventually, as me going back and forth to my daddy house, I turned the set too. So
right.
And that happened to be really officially around my 11th grade.
Okay.
So about 16 when I really start doing my thing for the set. But far as going to jail, catching cases with pistols, probably about 14, 15, and hanging with the homies, doing shit. But yeah, baby SPI, where I was about 16 years old.
Let me ask you, so East Coast, I always wondered this. Where did East Coast, get that name, adopt their name from? What made them say we're gonna be East Coast?
In short, there was like a movement where a lot of individual gangs on the east side of South Central were unifying, and they kind of, as they were starting the movement, they kind of drew a borderline as to what they considered the East, as far as which streets in relation to the west side of LA. And where they cut the line off, they just nicknamed it the coastline, the East Coast. That's the East Coast. And it just carried on and clicked on and turned into our identity as the whole situation.
Got you. Or East Coast, are they in alliance with Rolling 90s?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And y'all surrounded by what blood hoods, if any, over there? Is it any?
Yes, definitely. Surrounded, not necessarily. I mean, when you talk about the East Coasters in general, there's blood hood sprinkled out. My immediate section, close in our proximity, we had the Bebops and Swans, things of that nature, the Bishops.
Yeah.
And
then,
Bishops
go back, boy.
Yeah, original shit. Down in other areas affiliated with my section, you got the Villains, things of that nature.
Okay.
In other areas, you got the Anthony Parks, the Denver Lanes. So it depends on what area of the situation that you directly affiliated, what moves you might come in direct contact with through your experience as an active member in them areas. Yeah.
Right. So at what point did you, because it's the other side to all that activity, at what point did you hit that wall? You know what I'm saying? Where everything you was doing, you got to sit down.
Well, there was not a moment where it's just everything, but mentally I had made up my mind that everything was going to change as far as my focus and intentions
Mhm.
after I paroled from, well, before I paroled from prison the second time in
Mhm.
1999.
But I guess, but not to cut you off, I'm saying, but when you went to prison that first time, like
I
that
came
wasn't.
back 6 months. I came home full-fledged, fast speed, doing everything I was doing.
Yeah, you went right back
Yeah,
to
because
it.
it was more like a rite of passage.
Oh,
Kind of like couldn't
okay.
wait to get to prison at that point.
Oh
As,
shit, you
as
was in that
disgusting
shit.
as it might sound
Yeah,
mentally.
nah, but that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like
yeah,
a
you
stripe.
was in that
I was
shit.
so glad I only had 2 years because it was like, oh, you get the stripe without getting stretched.
Where you do your time at?
I've been to Avenal, Pleasant Valley, which is Kalinga. What reception at what's that shit? Delano. I've been to Centinela. So I believe that's all the prisons I've been to.
That's a pistol charge?
Initially, strong arm robbery,
Mhm.
and I returned for ex-con with a gun. Indeed.
Damn. So that ex-con with a gun was after the 6 months. You went back the second
After I paroled, I was out 6 months, like a blink of an eye, and I was back.
Damn. So what you do that second time?
That was ex-con.
How long you do
32
then?
months with 80%.
Damn.
Yeah. That's, I'm not in no way trying to compare that to the sentences and the bids that some people have done.
Right.
But for me, it was enough for me to realize that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't finna be out here just living a full speed, full press life to where
Right.
I'm running this occurrence constantly, continuously, all day, every day as I once was.
Right.
So I made plenty of adjustments, not to say that I just stopped everything.
Yeah.
Like I told you initially, but at the first time, I just full speed. The second time I came home, I tried to stop everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then, shortly thereafter, a few months thereafter, the marriage shit definitely wasn't what I thought it was finna be. It wasn't before I came home. So that was like all part of trying to repair the whole situation.
You said the what shit?
I had became married. I forgot.
Oh, married.
Yeah,
okay.
married.
Okay, married.
Bid.
Okay.
I got married over the telephone.
Okay.
And in court to sign the papers.
Yeah.
So in the process, so when I came home, when I told you I got baptized and tried to go hard with the church, it was also in a dual effort to restore marriage that was thrown away while I was down.
Wow.
So, she had gotten baptized. We got baptized together, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And we tried to do that whole shit, and that shit wasn't working. But as soon as I came home, I conceived my oldest daughter, who is Curtis Williams. She's 22 now.
Okay.
So I give you kind of like a time frame of how long ago it was. So I conceived her, which made me put a little more effort in making the marriage last, but it didn't last beyond much. And shortly thereafter, the whole effort to be engaged in the whole religious shit just dismantled, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm curious, did your parishioners, were they aware of your your gangbanging background at the time?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Bishop Stephen D. Lewis. I remember one of my experiences and my challenges.
Yeah.
That's ironic. When I was about 17, I caught some cases in Alabama, and I was looking at life, some very heavy time. And throughout that process, my mother introduced me to a ex-street dude who turned evangelist named Stephen Lewis. And he became my mentor. I got up under his wing to the point where she even sent me out to travel with him in an evangelistic effort at one point. And damn, I forgot why I brought him. What did you just ask me? I go, oh yeah, so we go to places like fucking South Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Where poverty is poverty.
Yeah.
And he'll like, my job at the age of 17, 18 is to like drive a van, 16-passenger van, in and out the projects every day. And when I pull up in the van, it's just kids and young people mob the van. They want to go to the meetings. We've rented out a gym at a school that's not in session, and he holds meetings every night in the gym. So he had you wear a little sport coat every night, clean cut, tie. You sitting there. Now, mind you, you active gang member, just baptized, you got a case, you trying to go with him on his program because he told his mother, your mother, if he goes on my program, I'll come to court as a character witness for him and all that.
Right.
But I'm not saying I did it as just game. I was really trying to get with this shit.
Yeah.
But this how the preacher, he my nigga to this day. Shout out Pastor Lewis on the set. Oh, blah. He'll do you like this, cause he in the church, he's in the middle of his sermon, and he'll be like, yes, the Lord can change you. You just don't know. Now you in South Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
He like, Norvell, stand up. This young man just came from the middle of Compton doing drive-bys. And look how the Lord changed his life. And now all the females from the projects, they looking at you like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
And then my next duty is to get in the van and drive everybody home.
Yeah.
So I used to try to do the right shit. I used to have old ladies and young females in the van. So I used to tell myself, take all the young females home first and then take the old ladies straight. But I could remember on God, on my mama, I remember I was driving the van. I could swear a female on that front row was just like had her legs open on purpose, just showing me the thing. I'm like, trying not to, and I don't know what happened.
Not to backslide.
Next thing I know, I'm taking the old ladies home first, and I'm taking the young ladies home second. And I'm still trying to fill it out without being no weird nigga, no creep, like who the one, how it's go. So you gotta know, my conversations is going for how do y'all like the message? Amen, to like, you got to be a cold nigga to try to like figure out how you can flip it. And now you figuring out which female to take home last.
Right.
So now I know exactly who to take home
Process
last.
of elimination.
Yeah, and it was like, but you asked me, like he would be considered a parishioner.
Yeah.
But he's going through my whole journey with me right now to this day. So I could tell you tons of stories of what my main parishioner has gone through relating to me and the ups and downs I've taken him as far as what he projected as my future. Yeah. But it's never been judgmental. Right. I've even got caught up before where, swear to God, I had suspenders driving, taking people home. Just one of them wild things. People walking down, hey, do something. Now I'm trying to sneak back into Whoop, and the pastor stay in a whole other part of the city. Yeah. But just so happened when I get back to where we going, he in the parking lot in his truck talking to another one of the peoples in the Whoop. So now I'm caught coming in late. So he like get you in the car, he question you what you been up to, and you like, well, he run through the list of things you possibly could have been up to. Like you find like, yeah, that's what I did. You think he finna get on you heavy? Like, well, you made it home. Better go ask for forgiveness. Don't go to sleep. So it was never no. Although from the pulpit, he sound like the guy that believes you fart, hellfire is coming out. Yeah. But he's not really that in reality. I think he just delivers the doctrine with a purity that it is written with from our institutional, the way we was raised. Right. And a lot of time that rubs a lot of people wrong because our doctrine does not make room for modernization. Right. And things that people start to include just because it's common in normal days. We were always taught we were supposed to be peculiar. Yeah. People get ashamed of being peculiar in the long run.
Right, real talk. Yeah. Let me ask you, do you subscribe to more the theology and religion or the spirituality?
I subscribe to nothing other than the concept that we are obligated to do unto others as we want them done to us. Mm-hmm. I was raised as a theologian. Mm-hmm. Well, I was raised as a religious person to become a theologian. Mm-hmm. It's just that, theology is the study of religion. Right. And the more and more I study religion, I realize it's creations of men. Mm-hmm. It's less inspired by a God with a God and more inspired by men.
Well, I should have had, not to cut you off, I should have had my old lady here, boy. She a hardline Christian. Y'all could have talked.
I double back for you. I double back for you.
She gonna challenge you on everything.
But it's hard to challenge. It's hard to challenge someone who believes. I mean, it's hard to be challenged by someone who believes that a virgin gave birth. Mm-hmm. And not only did a virgin give birth, the virgin gave birth to the creator of the universe after he created the universe. Mm-hmm. So if you can believe that, you can believe anything. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of even hard to have a dialogue with an individual that's already accepted their hard drive being fucked. Mm-hmm. And that's how I was raised, with a fucked hard drive. Mm-hmm. We believe as a society that is religious, Christian in general, we believe in a thing called the Ten Commandments. If you just go to the most general belief of the story, we believe one individual went up on a mountain and saw God face to face and saw God write it with his finger. He has not one witness. Mm-hmm. You never met him. And if you are a Christian, you believe that happened based upon what? It wasn't even two people up there with him, not one person.
Bruh, you gonna get me out here, wifey, right now. She gonna see this shit, and she was like, call Mr. Loc right now.
I mean, all she's gonna do is refer me to something that some humans wrote. It's like she's gonna refer me to something some humans wrote. Mm-hmm. And then she's gonna point me to the fact that those humans claim that all these scriptures are inspired. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on.
Right. The funny thing is I'm on the same page as him. Yeah. I'm Italian.
Okay.
and we grew up Roman Catholic, right?
Okay.
And I went to Italy.
I don't know why when I said Catholicism earlier, I felt the energy over there. And that's why I went real smooth. I swear for God. Salute. Go ahead.
but in reality, man, my grandmother, I was just talking to my mom about this and courting on my mom, but she was crazy Catholic. And then we never traveled at all. We was poor my whole life. But when I got some money and we got older, I was like, hey, we should go to Italy. We should go to the Vatican. We should go. I just want to see shit now, right? So we go, no bullshit, stepping over homeless people, hungry people, to get into the basilica, which the arms of the basilica, St. Peter's Basilica.
That's that courtyard?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be the arms of God welcoming you in. There's homeless and hungry people at the footsteps of it.
There.
And so you get inside, and then they hit you with, again, things that were written 300 years after they transpired. And they're telling you that you're doing the art history tour. And they're like, Vatican City has more money than most of Western Europe combined. But there's homeless people outside.
Right here.
Wow.
Outside. They're showing you the walls. Oh, yeah, these are paved in gold. And they're actually, it's trompe-l'oeil is like this idea that something far away looks bigger than it. So you're looking at these things, they're like, that's 24 feet tall, the letters, and they're gold. And I'm sitting here in my head, my grandma, rest her soul, she's gone. She's praying and doing everything else. And I'm looking at it like, didn't we step over homeless people outside to like walk through the? So it fucked me, bro. Ever since then, I was like, nah, I can't.
See, that's even a more practical application of your own common sense to start looking at things differently. That's not even being heavily indoctrinated. That's just like, because the guy we heard about that's the star of all this shit, he was breaking bread everywhere he went, trying to restore everyone. So
but religion seems to, and maybe Christianity or religion in general, it doesn't seem to welcome, like you say, common sense. You know what I mean? No. It's a belief. It's all belief. It can't be, okay, what my common sense and my intelligence leads me to believe. No. It's all faith.
Part of my discussion on this subject is I believe the greatest gift my creator bestowed upon me is my common sense. It is amongst them. It is the most protective asset that I'm naturally equipped with. So therefore, I believe if I have to then turn off my common sense to understand my creator, that's not the creator. That would be a trick bag to even put me in as a creator. Why bless me with a tool as essential as common sense that very seldom fails me in every fucking serious point in life. And then all of a sudden with the most essential concept, which is understanding my creator, I got to turn it off.
Right. Yeah, that's a battle. That's a chore right there.
I believe that's why indoctrinating a society at such a young age is such an important thing. You got to get people in. If I wasn't raised the way I was raised, I would have never bit. Never.
But let me ask you this, Spider Loc. Do you believe in a higher power? You believe in God?
Indeed. And that's once again through common sense. When I look at the functions of the universe in its totality, and I see the design that is obvious, I can only with my common sense attribute that to a creator.
Right.
Now, all the holy reverence and love that is attached to that, I cannot confirm or deny.
Right.
But the fact that I can't confirm it, it affords me the comfort of not being all in following some other human structure of what they thought.
And there's a theory with that. You know what I mean? A lot of people say atheist or whatever, but you could be agnostic.
I've been more comfortable with that term since I didn't know what that was. Atheist always scared me, of course, because the way I was raised.
Exactly.
But when I became more aware of what agnostic meant, I've kind of feel comfortable being, described as
I would
such.
say I'm agnostic.
Yeah, I don't
because
feel
that just means you think there's something greater than you
that I have yet to actually be able to describe or define.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and I don't think that forces me to have to grab someone else's version just because I can't identify what I've connected with.
When you spin the block, I'm gonna definitely have wifey come on here because she that's her shit. Y'all can, you know what I mean?
I don't mind. I don't mind whatsoever.
Hey, but so let me ask you this, bro. So you've had an eclectic, background, bro, from gang banging to the religious part to being educated and obviously it seems like you come from good stock. You had a loving, home and
love you, mama,
stuff like
and
that.
And my mama.
Real talk. And you coined that term, huh?
I did.
On my mama's mama.
Yeah.
Where did the hip hop come in? Where did the wanting to get into you know, this written expression of rap and hip hop.
Well, hip hop itself, I believe it was just I was influenced by it like the rest of my generation.
Right.
However, prior to hip hop, I had a natural ability and attraction and appreciation for poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like I expressed to you the type
That's
of
crazy.
environment I was ready. There we go, another one.
So let me just ask you:
Okay.
Did you write your mother poems?
The next words were. I was too young to be able to earn a dime.
Yeah.
I would customly. I don't care if it was just my mother, my auntie, because she has 4 sisters, my grandmother, Mother's Day. It was my routine to write out a hand poem, get one of the aunties that wasn't being celebrated to type it up, get a little cheap frame, and present it. And I was always viewed to have words that were beyond my age. That was my thing.
Same thing with me,
Yeah,
bro.
indeed,
I started my transition into rap was I started writing my mother poetry.
Likewise.
I would write my mother poems and shit.
And the first rap I can recall writing, I was in either 5th or 6th grade. The reason I can't recall is because it was like one of the classes 5th and 6th were together. So I was in that class 2 years. So I can't remember what grade it was. Either 6th or 5th grade. And Miss Nelson, who was shout out Miss Nelson, she was a substitute teacher at one point in that class, and she gave us a fucking assignment to write a story with our spelling words. And everybody wrote a story. For some reason, I chose to write a rap. And I can recall getting up there, writing trying to rap my shit, rhyming. And before I knew it, without no prompting, all the class was trying to clap on the beat for me. And that was like the first rap I could remember writing.
Damn, you remember it?
Not at all.
Oh.
Not at all.
What was your musical influences back then? We the same age, so I'm curious. You being on the West Coast, what was it?
Once again, remembering how I was raised, a lot of it was gospel. So the outside of shit, what I get, hang with my brothers back in the day. I used to listen to Rapper's Delight and everything that progressed, Curtis Blow, Run DMC. Then it turned into, when I was having access on my own, it was heavy Ghetto Boys, NWA, DJ Quick, Ice Cube. To sum it all up, was my main major influence. So even with that being my favorite, I was still seasoned by intelligence, talent, understanding of the environment, gangsterism. But we know Ice Cube brought way more elements to what he prepared than just violence and destruction and ignorance. So Ice Cube has always been what I can hold as my favorite throughout my upbringing of influences when it comes to music.
For sure. He's definitely one of my favorites.
Indeed.
Cube was really kind of like a hybrid.
Indeed.
You know, in a sense. You take a little bit of Public Enemy, you know what I mean, in there. It was always a message, you know, in the hardcore part of it. You know what I'm saying?
And then he'll have his fun.
Ice-T as well.
Ice-T, well, Ice Cube's understanding of the world in general seemed to surpass almost all his peers when it came to how he can put other concepts into music and make them entertaining. You know, I don't think there's a record, not knocking Ice-T, that you can hold up to one as Ice Cube's Dead Homies. And Dead Homies is nowhere near at the top of Ice Cube's songography.
I'll push back on that.
I would love to see a record that you can articulate right now.
I know that is subjective, but because to be honest with you, Ice-T is the one of my biggest influences and probably contributed to me being Street Poison with
Squeeze the Trigger,
High Rollers, and Squeeze the Trigger. Squeeze the Trigger was the first gangster rap record I ever heard.
But like, what was the word you described it? You said subjective.
Yep.
Yeah, I refuse to debate that because
it's subjective.
Yeah, everybody has their favorite.
Yeah, but in, you know, just for the sake of the argument, I would say, you know, Ice-T, the thing that about Ice-T with me was, now I will say this, when I heard Ice-T, he sounded like he was reporting, like he was a nigga that been around this shit, he's seeing this shit, and he telling you what it is. Because to be honest with you, he contextualized what I was seeing in my environment as a youngster. So when I'm 11, 12, like I ain't understanding the dope houses that's going up, the niggas with the Turkish ropes, the niggas, you know, with the anchors on their shit.
You mean the image of Ice-T?
Well, what he was talking about. I'm talking about the music. So when I'm seeing, and the visual, the image of Ice-T as well, right? So when I'm seeing and hearing colors, and I'm hearing Squeeze the Trigger, I'm hearing High Rollers, he's putting into context what I'm seeing in my neighborhood now. The difference was when I heard NWA, they sounded like the niggas he was talking about. You see what I'm saying? So it was like you know, Ice-T. You see what I'm saying?
I
Like
can
he's
relate.
narrating.
Ice-T did seem like he was coming from perspective of what he saw
Right.
driving down the street
Right.
or looking out the window.
Exactly.
And now you're saying it sounded like he was looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
Now,
that.
NWA, when I heard NWA, it was like, oh shit, these the niggas he talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Imagine Dr. Dre was the furthest from that than we can ever imagine.
You know, not understanding that, you know, that part of it. But so at what point did you say, fuck it, I'm gonna pick up the mic? Like I think this is something I could really do.
Well, like I say, from writing that first rap in school, then it became me. Anytime there was a talent show, anything of that nature, I was preparing to rap. I developed a group in high school called Poetic Mafia, and a lot of the times we took the stage, like I said, it was under the private school umbrella. So we was having problems getting announced as the Poetic Mafia. The announcers always have an issue with that.
With the mafia part?
Yeah. But I had a lot of t-shirts with PM and hats and shit.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a new name for the M, and I changed it to Mist. So we turned it to the Poetic Mist. And there was my two childhood best friends that was in the group with me. They lost their interest in rap. I never did. So I always was writing raps on my leisure time. Even when I was a full-fledged active gang member, anybody from the 90s or from Track New know, I don't care what I was up to, I always had a notepad and a pen on the front seat, back seat of the car, which turned into a backpack full of raps that was always around me.
Right.
And I did a prison bid that ended in 1999, which was my second prison bid. And during that prison bid, after, you know, becoming an actual individual who didn't mind rapping and everywhere I went, engaging in battling and always being impressive, never lost a battle. I was rapping when it was like not cool for street niggas to rap.
Right.
I remember when rappers used to say, I ain't no rapper. And I was always saying, I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
I could recall a time when I would bump into niggas from different hoods in jail on the street and be like, oh yeah, you know your homie Whoopty Whoop. And because I know them from a studio, the response to the street niggas like, oh, that rapping ass nigga. So I've been rapping since all that. So at the point in 99 when I paroled, it was definitely something that when you have the propensity to think big, it was definitely the number one shot I felt I had in the world based on the climate, the time, my ability. What I really based my ability on at one point in my life when I was young, when I used to write rhymes, to be honest, I used to like write on an Ice Cube instrumental. And when I write my rap, I would count how many syllables he said in that bar and make sure I use that many syllables or more. And that's how I kind of like made sure, I'm like, as long as I'm making sense and I can rhyme, I'm just as dope as him. And I'm gonna be a little doper if you going, cause I'm gonna put a little more on it by utilizing a few more syllables. And that was the meter I kind of held myself to. So I just tried to like make that a reality, and things really took place for me a lot like I envisioned.
So you being in Compton, right? And you know, between Compton and LA, and then now you getting into rapping yourself. So I would think that, you know, people like DJ Quick and especially MC8 and CMW, being that they from Track New, that were they influential in your music aspirations at that point?
I can remember one time Gaffled Them Up being one of those records around that time where that was that type of shit, and just the shock and the newness of it.
The blue tape.
The blue tape.
Yeah.
And then the thing about it is that's the neighborhood like I'm native of. So it definitely had an influence on me to know that, damn, somebody from right here can be there. Prior to him, Toddy T. From the same exact neighborhood.
Right.
So in my mind, it was always a progression of what could take place in this soil. Outside of them directly, my cousin Loom was a producer who was from Track New. And he stayed one street over. And he was making beats for like King T, Toddy T as well. And then it's a OG Compton Crip original independent rapper named Suicide from Lantana. He was also making beats for him. So I was always aware, without being attached to Hollywood or big levels, that shit can crack. Even before I was exposed to the mainstream, I had the opportunity to be at 99th Street School on occasions playing basketball on the courts with Cam and Solo. So from a young age, there was always a somewhat of a awareness that this shit ain't that far away if you could just somehow tap into the right.
You seem to, and as I was looking, I mean, I've been aware of you, but again, knowing that you coming, you know what I mean? You really zero in and hone in on it. man, you seem to really have the uncanny ability to get next to the right motherfuckers and put yourself in situations that will progress your mission. You know what I mean?
I want to be humble and say it's less of an ability and more of a fortunate happening in my life. It's like part of the magic that attends my life. I actually told a lot of people because I was commonly asked when Suge was first paroling from prison, and the people that knew me knew what I was up to, trying to place my feet somewhere around this industry shit. I was just commonly asked when it was people was knowing he was coming home. It was like a question that was rhetorical, really.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Would you fuck with Suge?" And I know the answer was supposed to be like, "Hell no."
Right.
But I always, because like we say how we lean into everything that would start with an F, like with that shit, I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then that turned into when he was really coming home. I was telling people, nigga, I'm telling you, when he come home, I'm gonna meet him in 30 days. I'm gonna make it my business. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make it my business to be in his presence within 30 days.
Yeah.
However, I knew from the day he paroled, it hit the news, Suge Knight's home.
Yeah.
Good looking. On my mama. I didn't make not one effort to try to meet him. It was like all that shit I was saying was hot air.
Yeah.
I was like, and I wasn't that committed to it mentally and in my soul.
Right.
That I cared about people seeing that I wasn't trying.
Right.
I met him before 30 days.
So how that come about?
I was dealing with the big homie T.Y. who had for sure records.
Oh, I know
at
the
time.
homie T.Y.
Yeah, on my mama.
Yeah,
so
I know the homie.
T.Y. was basically my CEO at the time.
Right.
He was looking out for me, throwing me some change. Shout out to Yuck Mouth too, because T.Y. was essential in us rectifying the situation we had. And you mentioned him because I know it's not normal to be able to blow down up in here, but you told me Yuck Mouth paved the way because he smoked a lot. So I appreciate you for sticking to the shits.
And shout out to T.Y. because
T.Y. too.
T.Y. actually mediated the shit with him and Master P. As well.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
And T.Y., not many men have been allowed to put me in positions I didn't desire to be in, and I reacted in the way they desired. But at the time when it was fuck Yuck Mouth, he didn't ask me no fucking. He had me in his passenger seat, and next thing I know, I was in the alley. He was gone. It was just me and Yuck Mouth on the set. He did a real G, and then we sat there and we talked it out like men.
Right.
And that was years ago, over a decade ago, and Yuck Mouth and I have yet to like revisit that energy. We've been people been trying to tempt us to from our different platforms, and then we got kind of touchy couple times. And we both kept a balance, and we, you know, I'm very proud of the way we gotten way beyond that bullshit and negativity.
Real shit. Real shit. I like Yuck Mouth. He came to the show, and
overall, man, Yuck Mouth is
nigga,
someone you have to appreciate when you realize I was introduced to him as a superstar, and even through the ups and downs, and just knowing his character, see how hard he goes, he stays, how confident he is in being the person he is, no matter what that brings his way. Right. I admire that.
Right.
I actually I didn't vouch, but you know he from No Limit, so they got their own.
Right.
But I said, you know, I'm from Sacramento, so Yuck to us,
he a legend.
Yeah. So but I had said from the beginning, I was like, we got to get Yuck to
your
the show.
attention naturally derives from a similar position as mine. That's all it was. It wasn't ever really personal.
Right.
He did carry himself one night that I took personal, but I used the politic to approach him. It wasn't even, I know he never really knew why I got at him. Because instead of me getting at him about what I seen you doing that I perceived funny, I approached you about some other shit, and then it went through that. But I approached him on the same similar politic with that type shit. So it wasn't never really about nothing, but it was a whole nother time in my life when I was willing to be active in a whole nother way, which was definitely reckless. Demoing was something I was not shying away from.
It seemed like you was pressing everybody at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I came in the game with Suge. We know his reputation, his energy.
So let me ask you real quick, not to cut you off.
You know, I didn't never answer the question either, though.
That's what I was about to get to.
Right.
I was just about to redirect it. How did you get with Suge? Like, was you already buzzing in the music shit in the street, or was it just based on the fact of some politics shit?
Not in the street to the degree as to how the social media can have now. It's hard to even meter what my influence was in the street with the music. However, there were some strangers that were aware of me because shout out to Cam once again. I was able for the first time to be having my voice on a record that you go in the record store and buy because I was on his Camnesia project.
Right.
And just happened to be on the prequel with Yuck Mouth, Drasted Against the J.O. Felony, and Cam. So that already put my name in credits with some people that was known. And then from there, I had some experience working with with Sibo from Sacramento, fucking with Wino from 190, because he had did a lot of
Oh,
production from Coolio.
you was on the Block movement.
On the Block movement with
I remember that.
Sibo and Brother Lynch.
Yeah, I remember
Money,
that.
Power, Respect.
Yeah.
So it was a few people was aware of me.
Okay.
But my connection with Suge had nothing to do with that presence. He had just came from home. He wasn't aware of me, but he had a relationship with Magic from A7 Gangster, who had a label called Done Deal Records. Eastwood was his artist.
Okay.
One of our brothers. You said
shout out to Eastwood.
Shout out to
that's my
Eastwood.
dog.
At that time, my big homie Ant, rest in peace, and Magic was best friends. So I believe at the initial meeting of Magic and Suge Knight.
Now, real quick, I'm sorry. Is this the same Magic that used to allegedly rob everybody?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Allegedly. Okay.
I've heard a few things. I would never believe something like this. He's a very positive black man.
Right.
Has been active in this industry. But allegedly, I believe I heard something like that about him before.
Yeah.
Shout out to Magic. See that things. But he and my big homie was like best friends. So it was almost inseparable, especially when Magic was making moves around the industry and shit. Magic is like this.
Right.
My big homie, not quite, but he like yo.
Yeah.
And even the complexion, Magic's your complexion. My homie, like, it was just the perfect contrast to be there. And I guess throughout the conversation, Suge describing the type of artist that he was interested in connecting with. And the main thing I can remember in the description was he was saying, I don't want to have to go to his hood and save him from his homies. I believe it caused my homie to speak up like, we need to meet my homeboy. I had just left the meeting with T.Y. I was frustrated with T.Y. because he had me come way out to the valley to this meeting. And when I got there, he had someone there from E1 at the time. He was trying to land some distribution. And he put me on the back burner in that day. And he kept walking past me with the motherfuckers he was trying to impress. Me not being mature enough, realizing he can't do nothing for me if he can't get them in place.
Right.
Ignorant, artist mind.
Yeah.
He had a receptionist. And I told her, could you go in there and tell him in the office and tell him I gotta go, but I need some gas. And then she was like, she went in there. He a G. He came out, apologized, gave me $500, and was like, I'm gonna get at you, man. I just gotta know this was gonna go this long. Woo, woo. So I told him thank you, woo, woo, left, but I still had an attitude. Swear to God, the big homie called me and was like, hey, this nigga Suge want to meet you. This is all within the 30 days that I said I was gonna make all the effort I could to meet him, and I didn't make no effort. And I went up, met him, and from that meeting on, me and Eastwood were the new additions to the situation. And
at this point, it's the row.
It was the row, yeah.
Yeah.
He hadn't quite figured that out. But shortly thereafter, I think he was going through the litigation process that caused him to have to change the name. And that's what it was officially. Once he came, stepped his foot down, it was the row.
So on the road, so what was your experience like with Suge? Because it's all. This is the thing. Of course, the media and all of that shit, you hear about all the shit with Suge, but all the people mainly that were close with Suge, you hear the same thing, that Suge was a good nigga.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he has such a terrible reputation because that's a hard reputation to live up to once you get around a real nigga, a regular nigga. So you kind of like overcompensate when you first meet him just because of what you expect, they might assume. And then once you realize he respect what you represent to not never get at you like that, you kind of come down some and start appreciating him for the man that he is as long as he meets you there. Because you see, he know who to be genuine with, and he know who to be. And I'm not saying that in no rah-rah fashion. He just knows how to be appropriate and applicable. That's the game of life.
Real talk.
He is Suge Knight. Don't get it fucked up, but I'm Baby Spider. And that meant something, even through the people that I met him through. Because what Suge Knight is Suge Knight, but Magic from A7 is Magic from A7. Big Ant from 9-7 was Big Ant from 9-7. So I ain't no nigga that just walked up out of nowhere, hey, I'm Spider.
Right.
He got me from a familiar energy.
Right.
So, there was respect always there. Shout out to Godfather, too, from Chicago, because I had experience with him and Suge years ago, where Suge played a key part and representing me to this OG nigga from Chicago that I always appreciated. And I've never spoken to this dude from Chicago except the one time. And that's why I love the power of these platforms. I recently did an interview with Reggie on Bond First. And I spoke about the incident. And I get a DM from a motherfucker that say, he send me the interview and say, hey, that's my daddy you talking about, and I could put you in touch with him.
Yeah.
And so I've been going back and forth with Godfather ever since.
Nice.
And it's just like, after almost 20 years, you start wondering if you remember it right. Am I putting too many extras on this story? Is this nigga somewhere telling people, well, it didn't go like that? And be able to connect and get everything confirmed that, yeah, it went just like that.
I think I heard something. So the Godfather dude, if I'm not mistaken, he helped you, or it was some with Young Buck. It was some Young Buck in that story, right?
Background on the Godfather dude.
Yeah.
His statue was so heavy as to when the chain got took, Young Buck went back to the radio station that he had visited in Chicago and asked them, if something got taken from you in this area, who you supposed to holler at? They give him this dude's name. So Young Buck, through the road managers or whoever, tracked him down. And when he went to find the dude, he had to go to the summer jam that was happening in that area because this dude by his own self was promoting it. He was throwing the summer jam. Kanye West, all these type people on stage. Well, he that heavy type nigga. So he put Young Buck in front of JoJo Capone. Shout out JoJo Capone at the time. And JoJo Capone at the time was the one that was going to be able to directly mediate the exchange of this chain. But through the shit, Game name came up, the price of the chain kept going up. Buck got irritated. He got up out of there without Godfather knowing. So now Buck is back. He's in Atlanta a day or two later with me and our crew. And I'm just meeting Buck, just did my rap shit to where he like, oh, you on the squad. But I did that interrupting him, telling the story of this chain being taken, him meeting this Godfather nigga. And now since I'm on the team and the chain is still the most, pressing issue, I'm on the phone with different motherfuckers he might mention that could be affiliated. Cause he like, when he out this concert, he see Made Men chains. I know the homie J.O. did some shit with the Made Men. I'm really just trying to get so I know J.O. might not know nothing about this chain, but I'm like, I know Buck can hear me tell J.O. cuz I got some interest in that, cuz Made Men chain, see what you can do. So J.O. don't really know how far it is from us. So that's the homie. He really gonna see who he's still in touch with over there. And that's all I need Buck to hear. So then he like, Game, JoJo Capone. So I'm like, Game, nigga, I know Game shocked. He like, what the fuck you calling me about this chain? This woo, woo, woo. He like, because Game like tried to go big. He like, Spider, we from Compton. I don't give a fuck about that chain. He was still G on it. His album hadn't dropped. They heard that. So, but I'm telling him, I'm like, cuz my brother was out there. I feel like that chain got took from me. So this is the campaign I'm on about this chain. So throughout the process, Buck get on the phone with this Godfather nigga. And the Godfather nigga mad, like, why you leave, youngster? I told you I was gonna get your chain back for you, man. Shouldn't have left, man. Ooh. That's out of my hands now, man. Shit. Should have stuck around. You have to be scared. I told you. Ooh.
Yeah. And the chain got took in
Chicago.
Okay.
So bam, that's where it was left. So the nigga on the phone telling Young Buck that. So I do the same thing I've been doing with everybody else. I jump on the phone. I'm like, my name's Spider. Woo. I'm from LA. My brother was out there. I feel like that chain got took from me. So the Godfather nigga responds to like, when he heard LA, was like, well, if you from LA, you need to know I'm on the level that when I come to LA, I touch down with niggas like Suge Knight. Perfect name. So I go super big. If you fuck with Suge Knight, you better ask him about Baby Spider from Eastside 97. Extras. Now, mind you, I just stepped away from Suge, amicably, however. But then joint other whole shit. I don't know how this, Suge, Suge. He could have easily, man, fuck all that. So there was a gap of hours from me saying that to this. He told him he gonna check on that. It was a gap of hours from me telling him that. Hours go by, we still twiddling our thumbs, politicking. And that nigga called back, like, first got on the phone like 8-9 hours later. He was like, man, that chain gonna come back and you can thank that Spider Loc nigga. So all the rumors you heard through the years of, he got the G unit chain back, it was that simple.
Wow. The
reason why my name really, really got associated with it is when Godfather made the decision it's gonna really come back, he said you could thank me.
Right.
And I was always grateful to Suge because I knew Suge had the opportunity to hate or
he could have shitted on you.
Didn't, and he confirmed that. So that was my only interaction with this dude ever in my life up until a couple weeks ago is what I'm saying. But I've told that story here and there through the years, not knowing where he is at. And I don't know what his situation is. So I don't want to be incriminating to anyone.
Right.
However, he said, I fuck with niggas like Suge for a reason. And if you can just let your mind expound to what that must mean and where he from, I'll share this one bit. We had our initial conversation when he was giving his resume. And I imagine this is the young, grown nigga that got in my DM that he was referring to back then. But he was like, just to give you an idea, he's like, I'm inactive. I've been inactive for years, but that shit's so heavy, deep, and structured in Chicago. He was like, if I want to take my son to a Chicago Bulls game, I got to buy 30 tickets.
Yeah.
My organization won't even let me go out in public without being covered like that.
Right.
So shout out to Godfather and the youngster. I believe that's the youngster he was referring to way back then that got in my DM. Much love to both of y'all.
Wow.
My mama.
So let me ask you. So while you at the row and you there with Suge, I remember you went at Snoop. You went at Snoop. What was that? What that precipitate from? Like what made you?
Well, I had my own personal experience. I can say this. And I probably relied on that to justify being able to just jump on that bandwagon.
And I'm glad you clarified that because that's you specified my question. Was it personal or was it?
I had a personal reason because that I can utilize to justify whether it actually is justified.
Was real,
by it. What my experience was when I told you I had the experience. I was with Sibo for a while. I was even being his artist, but he did a year of Violation. And during the time him doing that year of Violation, I accompanied his manager. We was working on Block Movement. They was trying to get a feature from Snoop on Block Movement. And the way Block Movement was put together, like Sibo wasn't in the studio. He was in jail. And Tipo, the manager, we traveled from LA to Sacramento, going to different, because emailing files and shit wasn't that like it was back then. So we took a road trip to different studios, getting verses. Sibo had left here, there, and then he was dropping them off of Brother Lynch, and they was putting the records together like that. So during that time, he had got, I think it was through J.R. Ryder, an invite to go have an audience with Snoop out in Diamond Bar at the Mansion to get at him about getting on Sibo album. So I'm there just with Tipo. I use that as an opportunity to approach Snoop as an opportunity to rap for him and all that.
Yeah.
And I know this is very inconsequential at this point in my career. But however, he agreed he's going to give me the opportunity to listen to me. And before the opportunity came, everybody was leaving because he laid out on couch and was like, baby, bye-bye. He down. It's like everybody knew what that meant.
Yeah.
And it was time to go. And I can recall getting in his ear, shaking his hand, telling him I'm the hardest nigga from the neighborhood you ever heard. Remember my name, Spider. I said it about 7 times in his ear just to make an impression. That's the type of personality I had about trying to be remembered. And which is that, but now, of course, that was nothing. But when approached with the opportunity just to be on some whatever shit, that's probably something I allowed to be in the back of my mind. Like, so what?
Right.
Yeah, but that's the only experience that you could even consider as being personal, which it was very petty. But outside of that, it was just being aligned with Suge, knowing how the politics was, and being presented with the opportunity, which is a scarce opportunity to participate in recording, not wanting to miss any opportunity.
Right.
And kind of like true to the character we know, the opportunity was to be controversial when you know I would have preferred to be participating on something other than that.
So you think maybe you were manipulated a little bit?
I mean, I would not steer away from describing the experience as manipulation to some degree, but I'm not one to blame others for my actions. So I don't want to lean to that as an explanation. I'd rather explain from my perspective of why I made the decision. And the only reason I would even agree to that is because I don't want to act like I'm too big to say I have been experienced being manipulated.
Right.
It's not to blame nobody else though.
Right.
I'm just agreeing to that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. For me being honest about the fault on my end, I may have allowed myself to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not blaming no other man.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, you were still very young, and then you
Indeed.
still trying to get on too. So somebody's dangling something, you know what I mean, in front of your opportunity, and it's like, oh yeah, just say this, or he the op, fuck it, you know what I mean. Then of course you gonna lean in.
Well, a lot of people from what I've heard over the year and a half of doing this now too, even Yuck. Like we asked Yuck like why he got a Scarface, and he was like, "Well, I was with the team."
That's what that's what we were just talking about with the Yuck situation. And if you just think about Snoop, what was your problem with Easy?
Right, same thing. You're right.
You just ride for the team.
Ride for the team. Ride for. I mean, listen. For all intents and purposes, we all fall into that. Even with Yuck, I never met Yuck. Me meeting, that was my first when Yuck came to the show. That was my first time meeting Yuck. But for years, he the op. I ain't never met Yuck, but during that period, it's like, okay, he the hop. You know what I mean?
Been through some shit. But I'm gonna tell you, Yuck is so much not a coward that had y'all bumped into each other at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have to. Oh, whoa, God is good. God is good.
Yuck came. Hey, the thing about it, Yuck when he pulled up,
He
because
wasn't
he's
gonna
funny,
turn nothing
dude.
down.
He's a funny nigga, man. He pulled up like, yeah, you thought I wasn't gonna come, did
That's
you?
look. He's not gonna turn. I don't think he was surprised at the meeting that Ty set
Yeah,
up. I was the only one surprised. He was there waiting in the alley.
Yeah,
Like,
and he
however,
came
Well,
by himself.
Yeah,
I mean,
by himself, yeah.
he came one
He
deep
came
here.
by
That's
himself.
Yuck.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
Yuck.
I was like, man, you wasn't scared. He was like, nah, I figured it'd be what it's gonna be. Like,
He been through a lot. Yuck has been through a lot. So
Yeah, he said that though.
yeah,
I mean, Yuck laughs at his L's. Like, Yuck was like, I think he even mentioned Spider Loc though, didn't he? He said, yeah, I done had my chain snatched, been into it with Spider Loc, and you know, all of that.
No, he did.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I admire his character to be able to mend what we went through, because I went through the extras of trying to humiliate him even afterward.
Yeah.
You know, I was slick with it.
Yeah.
I did some bullshit. But I wasn't giving a fuck.
Right.
But you know, at a time when maturity had settled in,
Exactly.
it was time to talk about it. Like, man, he had the opportunity to hold a grudge, and he didn't. And you know, I appreciate that.
I'll be honest with you, bro. That's what I love about all this, and that's why I wanted to bring him to the show. You know what I mean? And to be very honest with you, P suggested that I brought him to the show.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I love the way that we have evolved, and we can all look back on our younger selves.
I mean,
and be
P's
like,
really good about that
I got
too.
a very personal appreciation for Master P too.
Yeah.
And he made this impression on me in a very brief moment. I don't want to make sure I have this exhaustive relationship with him that he might not even remember this gesture. But I did a film independent film that I started in called Parole, that was produced by an individual by the name of Sal Martino, who had a pre-existing relationship with Master P.
Yeah, for sure. He did. I got to hook up.
Hooked up, and he done a lot. He done a lot of shit that we don't know as far as favors on editing and shit for P on other films he did. So when he was finally shooting his film, he had reached out for P for a favor of a cameo, and you know, P gave him that Hollywood, I got you. So you know, no disrespect, but Sal being the white guy, everything pre-produced like it was a fucking big studio. He got every moment of these 13 days scheduled out. He got it just how it's supposed to be.
Hell yeah.
Very efficient. And throughout the whole filming process, the buzz was P said he's gonna come. You know, I don't know. But if he does, we're gonna have to make up what he's gonna do. We don't know what he's gonna say. We're gonna have to, maybe we'll just have him be a guy that you owe something to before, because it was paroled. I came off from prison. Maybe so it was just like they're gonna just find a way to squeeze him in if he keeps his word. And one day he showed up. So we shot the scenes. He brought Romeo and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan was still in high school.
Yep.
So it was he was real cool. We shot the shit. And it was time. He was only there for an hour or less. And it was time for him to leave. I had like a stock Yukon in the driveway, and I don't know what made, you know, I'm kind of like wanting to like approach him about something other than what just happened, but I really don't know what to say to cuz. And then he just happened to ask, "That's your truck?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, you got that rim shit going on, man. I need some rims." She like, "Oh yeah, that ain't nothing." He like, "What you want, some 22s?" I'm like, shit. Nigga said, "Want some fours?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want some fours." I was like, "But if it's just that easy, I'll really take some sixes." He was like, "Shit." I swear to God, that nigga was like, "Shit. Ain't no difference." He said, "I just didn't know y'all rode that hard out here."
Yeah.
And it wasn't no sixes out here.
Yeah.
So he like somebody that was right next to him, like, real quick, get his number. Shout out to the homie. I forget cuz name.
Yeah.
But it took like a month and a half or two to where I had got to the point where the nigga stopped answering my call.
Yeah.
Man, that was some bullshit.
Yeah.
And then that nigga hit me one day and was like, "Hey, you can go down to this rim shot on Rosecrans in Downey." And they hit me with the sixes, with the low profile, every shit. Wah. So I was out here shining.
Yeah.
And the rims, they gave me a receipt. It was some $15,000 rims.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then got to the point where every time you get a flat, the motherfucker, it's a $700 tire.
Hell
You
yeah.
don't want to go mismatch.
Real
It wasn't no
shit.
26 used nowhere.
Yep.
So you had to go back. He was getting a flat every other week. Wow. And then just real life, a nigga ended up, they wasn't even on the truck at the moment, but insurance, here for a 10-piece of the insurance. Then I sold them to my cousin for 5. So all that off of P just blessed me. That's almost a 40-piece for the hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've never been able to have an extended experience with him.
Yeah.
Jug put me in touch with him one time down the line after that, but
You said who?
through Eastwood.
Okay.
I believe the homie name was Jug.
Juggy.
Yeah, Jug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a brief meeting with him that I thought was gonna be able to spark some new. Didn't quite go that way.
Because at the time, Eastwood was with us. He was with No Limit.
Yeah. And that Eastwood plugged me right in.
Yep.
Oh,
Eastwood was with us. Yep.
That's one thing I can say about Woodrow. You know, we had a brief moment where we was on opposite sides of these hip hop politics, which
Mm-hmm.
never got too deep.
Mm-hmm.
But our experience as far as being exposed to the industry is run kind of concurrent, and
Mm-hmm.
he's always been a genuine dude, man.
Right. Yeah,
He a
Eastwood
real one,
always
bro.
being a good nigga. Last time I seen him, we was at the Versus with Bone and 3-6. We was
Okay.
both there. Yeah, and we chopped it up for a
That's
second.
a place I wouldn't be surprised to find Wood.
Yeah, he was there. But you know, I want to touch on something.
What I told you I find fortunate
Mhm.
about myself
Mhm.
in certain places, he's a motherfucker that seems to know how to always find himself right next
Oh,
to
he
some
do.
shit.
He do.
He's one
So
that
let me
really
tell you
knows it
something.
as a skill.
So listen, this is a funny story with me and Eastwood. So one time, I don't know what the fuck we was doing, man. Me and Eastwood was on a mission on some shit, right? So he was like, "Hey, cuz, won't you ride with me down to I think we went to Philippe Child's when
Okay.
it was over there on Wilshire."
Right.
And so he was like, I don't know how he knew, but Rick Ross was there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he was like, "Yeah, man,
How
I'm
he
I'm
knew?
I'm a holler at the homie," and he was in the little private part of it. So I'm like, "Well, shit, Eastwood, this nigga know we coming? Like, just want to roll up on a nigga, you know what I'm saying?"
The
He was like,
rapper or
"Yeah,
the
yeah,
legend?
yeah." No, the rapper.
Okay.
The rapper.
Okay.
And so we went. I follow Eastwood, man. We go in the back. And at first I thought maybe he was just on some trying to get. I don't know what he was on,
Nah,
right? But the nigga Rick Ross was like, "Hey, what's up, homie?" Like, and I was kind of like, "Oh damn, you do know this nigga, huh?" You know
he
what I
may
mean?
not have.
Yeah.
Eastwood's so
Man.
fly. He knows how to create that reaction out
Yeah.
of high profile people where they
Yeah.
feel comfortable.
Yeah.
He's sharp with that, man.
Shout out
On
to the
mama.
homie
Shout out to
Eastwood,
Wood.
bro.
On
If
my
you
mama,
see this,
mama.
you know what I'm talking about. In Philippe Childs, then
Oh,
you
yeah.
had me on a mission with you.
He know who he is. He know who he is. And I was proud of him when he was caught up in that motherfucking Trump little rally shit.
Oh yeah.
That was
The nigga
hard,
was
cuz.
he went viral
Yeah,
for
he
a
went
second.
viral
He went
in a sec.
viral for a second.
Because
That
he was
nigga's a
hot.
fool.
You know he want to. If anybody would have crossed the slightest
Yeah.
over a line, he was finna. I'm glad he
Yeah.
didn't get himself caught up, but
Yeah.
he made a
I'm
stand.
gonna have to get Eastwood on the show,
Oh,
bro. I'm
definitely.
gonna have to have him come
Most
to the show. I'm
def.
shocked that I ain't had him already. But like when I introduced you, bro, I said, you know, you are a habitual line pusher. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to touch on, you know, a few of your beefs. It's a lot of them, but you know what I'm saying? The Game, you done went to war with 50 Cent. The Game, Wack100. Who I'm missing? Because I know it's been a lot of them. But briefly, I just want to, you know, what I'm sure they all come from the same thing. You just representing yourself and not taking no shit from nobody, and it probably come back to that. But I had a question. Why do you call why you call Game Doja? Where that name come from? Because you're the only one that I know that call him that. Everybody call him Chuck, or you know what I'm saying?
I am vaguely aware of a career that he was involved in before his hip hop career took off, and he had a stage name. And during that time in this period of his life, it is highly reported, understood, believed that he went by the stage name of Doja.
Oh.
So I just find fun in reminding him of, because I know you've seen the Change of Heart footage.
I did see.
So
Change of Heart.
regardless of you, whether you
yeah.
know Doja or not,
Yeah.
you know who he really is. I mean, unless you just want to blank it out your mind.
Did you know, being in Compton, did you know Game prior to music?
No.
Okay.
But I met him before he was G Unit affiliated.
Mm-hmm.
He was, however, affiliated with Dr. Dre and Aftermath in that period of time that is discussed, where he was unhappy and was kind of like looking toward the relationship that he had with Puffy through D-Mac and a couple other individuals to might be his next step. That's when I became familiar with him and acquainted with him in Compton, though. So it wasn't like he was big industry. Nobody really knew him yet. And he and I became cool at a time before he became extremely big.
Gotcha.
And we used to fuck around in Compton on Brazil.
Okay.
I used to go over there and fuck with Cuz, politic with Cuz, buy weed from his brother.
Brazil, that's Cedar?
Cedar Block.
Yeah. Okay.
All his homies showed me love. However, I was also learning at the time, him getting love from these niggas was brand new too. It was a whole lot of people were caught up in the wave of what he had going on with the industry.
Okay.
It wasn't like he was no Day Uno
Right.
or no stump down Pyru over there like his brother had established himself.
Right.
And his brother had kind of extended his stripes to his little bro and kind of like it seems thought in the long run his bro was gonna stay attached.
That's the Black Wall Street era?
The Black Wall Street era.
Big
yes,
Face.
yes, Big Face 100. And it seems as if in their brotherly relationship, Face extended himself first, thinking that Doja was gonna then in return, once you get it on, keep it a Google with me. And it seems like, at least from Face's perspective, Doja didn't do that. He got the little benefit of being associated with his brother's childhood homies and block.
Yeah.
And then once he didn't quite need that no more, when he could take a public separation, it was like, fuck that, I'm on my own.
Right. Damn.
Did he mention that? I feel like I just saw something. He mentioned him again in the new album.
His brother?
Yeah,
I'm sure he did. It seems like, it's like he can't make a composition of work without relying on the utilization of multiple names that you've heard already.
Right.
Not like a street nigga that introduce you to names you never heard of and tell a paint a story. He utilizes names that are already trending in order to create records for 20 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that he used his brother and the drama they had, you know how emotional he can get, I'm not surprised.
Let me ask you, what do you think about Game as a rapper, though? Just aside from being Doja and all of that.
My mama. I met him battling for DMX. And what I think about his character has to be attached to this, because he's not even honest enough to recount our introduction to one another, honestly. We battled and I slaughtered him, murdered him, destroyed him. The battle ended because he admitted you can't fuck with what I got going on. And that caused us to become friends. Yet and still, when it's time to recount us meeting down the line, it didn't happen that way according to him. So, not that he's a bad rapper. All I'm saying is, when we met, we battled, and he couldn't fuck with me, hands down. One name I just have to throw out there that was present. Damn, my nigga Malik. And those who might not be able to place Malik, you might not have any idea who Malik is, but Malik is the individual who Snoop Dogg went to trial alongside, who actually was accused of pulling the trigger when Snoop caught that
bodyguard.
murder. So he was, that's the only person I can name right now that's just notable. DMX's past.
Right.
I even think that Cuz had utilized DMX's condition of being not doing too well on his addictions to even question him about our situation down the line, because I mentioned it in public and kind of got him to agree with what he claims to have happened. When, as a man, just looking in his eyes, when he know for a fact what happened, that is a life I refuse to live. Trying to step in front of the public and claim to do, have done, be, or know anything I have not actually accomplished, acquired, or achieved. I hate that, because after I look at y'all, I gotta go look in that mirror.
Real talk.
And I want an even energy of what I get, even if it's at discussing a fault. I don't even want recognition for being beyond a fault further than I am. That doesn't give me nothing.
So your issue with Game is almost similar to your issue with Wack in terms of just
totally different.
Well, in the sense that you felt like Wack was being dishonest about something.
But I didn't just jump on Game because he recounted that incident wrong.
Okay.
That I didn't bring that up till it was already on. Because he
Okay.
never had an opportunity to recount it incorrectly until I brought it up and clowned him for it going that way. So it was already on for other reasons.
Got you.
And the typical, just breaking it down to make it simple, I was deep G Unit, and then he was G Uniting in the same environment. And although, he was making records, dissing G Unit and showing me love within the same record, it's like, cuz, that's like being a nigga just dissing East Coast, talking about, I got love for Spider Loc though. It wasn't. It didn't sit well. It didn't work. I just realized I got homies from the 6-pack that I wasn't even really familiar with back then that got G Unit tattoos. Shout out to Infant Stein from the 9. Like the culture of G Unit being attached to my homies had got way bigger than me. I got G homies from my set that got G Unit tattoos. Niggas from other hoods, from Santana, from Gray Streets, from 40s. So it was where I got cousins from Brims that got G Unit tattoos. So the fact that I was trying to be politically cool with whatever relationship we had before, I felt like it was one-sided, because, okay, if you really intended to keep it amicable with he and I, call them niggas by name and quit dissing G Unit, what you hear me keep promoting every day. That would have been a gesture showing me I'm trying to respect you. But when you felt like, you see how hard I was trying to push the G Unit shit, and you felt comfortable G Uniting, that's what triggered that. Versus Wack100, just jumping on the internet, making a fable and associating my name with an incident that never took place. He fabricated a conversation he had with me that he could never sustain the presence of myself saying the things he claimed to have said. And I wasn't aware of this because he said I'm doing a hiatus. And when I came back and stumbled upon the fact that he said this, I have just seen him like 60, 90 days before. And it's almost the creator just blessed him. I don't know if it was a blessing.
When you had seen him, what was the energy? Everything was normal, cool?
Oh yeah, he was a nice little wiki whack. He was nice, Mr. Whack. This is when he confirmed to me he had the tape of Doja at the Fox Hill Mall with his feet up, back knocked out. That's why Doja cannot shake him as far as their. Yes.
Wow.
This is when Wack told me that. Put that on Pyro. You didn't tell me that. Oh mama.
Wow.
He told me that. I was very aggressive in our interaction that evening based on things that took place upon me trying to enter the establishment and how he tried to insert himself into the incident. He tried to get on the internet and give everything a misrepresentation how it took place. Cuz know what the energy is with me. Cuz no. Oh my mama. Cuz no.
So you're, I ain't gonna say you insinuating because you pretty much fucking said it. So Wack is to some degree extorting Doja the game.
Well, I try to refrain from utilizing certain words.
Right.
However, Wack told me out of his mouth, Wack100, the person that's comfortable saying all type of inappropriate thing. He's the only person that has solved the Quando Rondo incident murder already. He got it all on the internet, figured out. Go check him out. But anyway, yeah, cuz told me out of his mouth on my mama, dead homies, daughters, lokes, loved ones, everything I love and live for, that he had the tape of gay Doja being knocked out by Rosemo, rest in peace, at the Fox Hill Mall. He said he had it in his possession. Wow. And then you see how he's maintained this position in Ray J's life all this time, and somehow tapes come up 15, 20 years down the line. It's always a tape with this nigga.
Wow. So what do you think Wack's angle is with all of that? Like with the clubhouse stuff and
it's a desperation to remain relevant, realization that he is relevant, not really realizing how he got there. He knows he doesn't mean to our streets out here in Southern California what he wants the rest of the internet world to mean. It's the only way he can establish himself as someone that can lean forward with aggression and not really meet what typically happens when you walk around like that. He's living in the metaverse.
Now that's what I was about to say. Let me ask you, Spider Loc. So based on the fact that we are content creators, you know, and I was just talking about this with Zoe. You know, as I see, you know, everybody got their way of doing what they do. I don't really get involved with the controversy shit because I don't really have a temperament for that type of shit.
Wise thing. I'm taking notes.
You know, because if you say something to me or threat, I take you serious. You know what I'm saying? So I especially if I don't know you, I don't know, you know, I had to take you serious. And then, you know, a nigga like me, I done dodged all the bullshit. I'm not finna get jammed up in behind some social media shit.
Right.
So, but for the people that do that type of content, do you think that, because as I watched Wack and I put him in there with Charleston White, I mean, do you like me personally? You know Wack. I don't know him or Charleston. I never met these guys in my life. Do you think that they're just using controversy as a selling point that is entertainment? They're just willing to disrespect and say whatever.
I know for
but
a
it's
fact.
just entertainment. It ain't
I don't
personal.
know if
it ain't
Wack is
like
necessarily trying to be as entertaining as Charleston White, but I know Wack utilizes that same frame of mind to maintain relevance.
Right.
I don't know if he cares.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
I
in,
think,
in essence, he's manipulating social media, understanding the day.
Most
So
definitely.
is it personal or is it a business model?
I think he has a combination of things going on. A midlife crisis to be primary amongst them. Identity crisis alongside that midlife crisis. I think they're running hand in hand. And then I think it causes him to use the obscure tactics to bring about the goal of being relevant or maintaining it. You go into your tool bag. And if you need to get a nail into a wall and you don't have a hammer, you try to find the next heaviest tool that can accomplish that goal. Right. And he doesn't have the typical skills and presence as a person like you and I that can stand in front of the public and use your charm, your intellect, your discernment to engage with people and keep
create
them.
content.
So therefore, now what do you have to rely upon?
But then I'll say this, and again, I have no dog in the fight. I've heard some shit that Wack has said, like he has pockets of intelligence. I think
what
that
good is Skittles in a pile of poop?
Well, no, I've heard him say some shit, and I'm like, okay, that nigga right there is cool. Like, I don't know if it's a difference between Cash and Wack. You know what I mean?
If
No,
you listen
no,
hard
I'm
enough to
saying.
Wack to find the cool parts, then
Mhm.
you're giving him a lot of passes to even get to the cool shit.
Mm.
He's not saying that much cool shit.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying he didn't say some cool shit.
Mhm.
But for you to even try to say you experienced it and not to even
Mhm.
in any sense be able to articulate what you heard,
Mhm.
lends to the fact that he didn't say that much cool shit and
Mhm.
it wasn't that cool.
So when I say cool shit, let me tell you.
All
So
right.
like I've heard some of the shit on YouTube, some of the Clubhouse shit, right? Where he'll be like giving advice on business. He'll be giving advice on finances, credit. I'm talking about shit like that where it's like, okay, that's something useful. That's
Skittles and
something.
a pile of
You
poop.
feel what I'm
2
saying?
Skittles and a pile of poop, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You saying that don't matter because the bullshit outshines.
I'm saying that,
shit.
and I'm challenging you to
Mhm.
utilize that common sense that we discussed
Mhm.
and that intelligence I know you possess. I know you
Mhm.
steer away from controversy.
Yeah, for sure.
But since we're discussing
Oh,
it,
but if I feel something,
look
I
like
say
Big K.
some
You
shit though.
you just look like Big K, the battle rapper right now. Oh, mama. Damn, that's crazy. But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you pinpoint a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
Look how much talk time he
Mm-hmm.
dominates the airways with, and you
Mhm.
can go and find a needle
Right.
in a haystack when he was edifying here and there.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's a bullshit.
Do
It's
you
a
put him
farce.
and Charleston White in the
I
same?
was so proud of you when you said that. Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Him and the other dude. I ain't gonna even say his name.
Which one?
I'm gonna leave him out of it. Don't even go. Don't even try. Cause I don't even want you to guess it, and then I'm gonna have to agree. I'm gonna leave it alone. But there's a third.
You tell me after the.
I will.
You tell me after the fact.
But you know what? I kind of
Mhm.
respect what you're trying to say about Wack
Mhm.
to the fact that I would love to say that about Charleston White.
Mhm.
He's just gone so far into the levels and
Mhm.
realms of disrespect. I think he might
Mhm.
be there might be no redemption left for him. But I think if he would have left all the extra bullshit out of his message,
Right.
he could have been a cold
Yeah.
motherfucker.
But then let me do this though. But then devil's advocate, right though?
What he had caught on as well.
Exactly. Well, motherfuckers have been paying attention to him.
I think
and that's
he
what
could
I'm
have pumped his
saying.
brakes a long time ago and still had
I mean,
a
he
path
probably didn't have to go so far. You know what I mean?
He went to the extreme.
He could have, yeah.
I think he did enough shocking that he could start relying on his comedy and it's his passion for change. It's too contradictory when he utilizes the disrespect for our ancestors to bring upon expression for a passion for our current and future.
Right.
It's all one thing.
Right.
You know,
because I think and what you're saying, I agree with. Because the same with, I put him, and again, as I said, Wack is like, but more so Charles. Like he'll say some prophetic shit, he'll say some real shit, and then to some degree undo it.
But I mean,
and follow it up.
If you
with some
keep
dumb
it consistent with your understanding of what he represents, this is a guy who openly admits being a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
He says he went down on a female, ate her out, and when the time to put it in, she said no, so he took it.
Wow.
So if you can get beyond that with the guy, you can accept almost anything from him.
Right.
And I have to almost remind myself that he said that when I start hearing some of the things that he say that you appreciate.
Right.
And I remind myself that's who he actually is. Then he's that guy, but then he wants to be so judgmental on anyone else in our culture that has been found themselves on the opposite side of the law, even if they're remorseful or trying to curb their actions. If they're not a preacher all of a sudden and just saying fuck everything else, he's the trial, the judge, and the jury. And however, he's a self-admitted rapist, bro. How can you respect that?
So real talk. So segueing from that. So let me ask you: you still listen to R. Kelly?
Not by like on purpose going to push the button and play him. But if I'm in an environment where he come on, I don't plug my ears. I don't get. I will bob to the song. I hum along if it's one of the ones.
Right. But you don't seek it out. You like, nah, I'm in a.
No,
I'm on a. I want to hear 12 play.
My mama sat me down and want to read me a scripture. I will listen to a scripture out of the King James version of the Bible, and I'm very aware of the antics that he was up to in his life. And I can appreciate a good Psalms if it's in a poetic spirit that speaks to something positive about humanity, even though I know it comes from a King James version.
Yeah, real shit. Okay, well, shit, bro. I ain't gonna keep you, man. I appreciate you for coming. Yeah, my nigga. Man.
I appreciate you keeping me though on my mama, bro.
All right, already. Hey, so what you tell the people what you got coming, bro? I know you stay busy, bro. You got the tell them everything, bro.
Got a few things in the fire. I've been practicing. Not speaking on the things that are coming, but the things that are at hand. The black box is popping on YouTube. Spider Loc Most Easty is the channel on YouTube. I also have the Facts Over Feelings podcast produced by Alex Alonso, that you can find on all your podcast streaming platforms. I think we on like episode 7. You got to come through when you get a
For
chance.
sure. You already know, bro.
Yeah, and for
Anytime.
the regular, appreciate you. For
anytime.
the regular social media shit, the #1 spot is Instagram. They got me super shadow banned, so don't get impatient. Type in the whole name, Spider Loc, Most Easty 7, the number 7, on IG, and just tap in, man. We be around making things happen. BayMaxStreetwear.com is where you can get the merch. If you see me online wearing anything that you don't see on the website, all you gotta do is screenshot it, send a private message and your size. Someone will get back to you and accommodate your desires.
All good,
Yes,
good,
sir.
my nigga. Well, shit, I want to give you your flowers, bruh.
I appreciate
man,
that.
we appreciate you in the culture. You know what I mean? Me
Likewise.
being a, bi-coastal motherfucker, I've always appreciated your artistry.
Thank you,
and
sir.
then the fact that just who I perceived you to be and who you are, you
Thank
know what I mean? Pushing a hard line, representing for the real one. So
Thank you, man.
we appreciate you in the culture, my brother.
Appreciate
And want to give you all the love and respect in the world and continue, to flourish and everything be you know what I'm saying, be as big as you need it to be.
Humbly received, man. Appreciate you.
It's Big Court on the Holding Court podcast here with Spider Loc and producer Ken, man. We out.
Out here.
I'm holding court, standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down? Karma's on the way. What goes around comes around. Karma's on the way. There's nothing you could do now. You gotta pay.